My name is Nick Martinez. I'm the National Sales Manager at Sovel. My career started back when I was 18 years old, right out of high school. I went straight to Denver Water, and I'd worked there for 17 years. I think one of the most significant risks that we see is our aging infrastructure.
For nearly a week earlier this month, the sixth largest city in one of the world's wealthiest nations told its residents to boil the tap water because it may have been contaminated.
A 127-year-old water main broke in Times Square early yesterday morning.
Old pipes and other aging systems have caused repeated problems in the city of St. Louis.
An old aging water main breaks on busy North Main Street.
The age was on the pipe was 1936. It's old infrastructure, and that's what happened.
There's a civil engineering group that rates U.S. infrastructure every year, and we had been D for a long time. In 2025, we got a C- on our aging water infrastructure report card. It's really representative when you hear that there's 250,000 to 300,000 main breaks annually. It's an issue that we have coast to coast, and that's just keeping up with our ever-aging infrastructure. And because of that aging infrastructure, I think the human element is a huge risk because of the amount of control that a SCADA system provides. SCADA is an acronym. It stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. And what it does is it provides the ability to see what's happening in real time, to see pressure zones and monitor pressures throughout the entire system, control and monitor equipment remotely. You could start pumps and monitor pump conditions. Denver Water's a huge water system, and one SCADA system covers all of Denver. They're 24-hour monitoring, so there's somebody there at midnight, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. The human element's always a big risk because errors cannot happen. They're catastrophic when they do. The cybersecurity aspect of these SCADA systems is equally a huge risk. If that control that a trained operator has was to fall into the hands of somebody with malicious intent, there's a lot of damage and catastrophe that could be caused if that control was to fall into those hands. Fire hydrants are one of the top vulnerabilities because there's no backflow prevention on those. And with as many fire hydrants as we have in our country, a lot of them are in remote areas. Nobody would ever see if anybody did anything with this fire hydrant. There's also no access control to them. Anybody has access to these fire hydrants on any given day of the week, whenever they would want to, and that's a direct access into potable drinking water that goes to everybody's homes. With having no means of security protection, you look at it on a scale of New York City, they have somewhere around 170,000 hydrants serving 8 million people. So having direct access to the water that we drink on that scale, that's why it's such a critical part of water system security.
And what did they target?
They targeted water.
The FBI visited in November 2023 to tell Lawler that China had access to his utility's computer network. He says the feds told him he was one of 200. How much of all of this is controlled remotely by computer?
All of it. In that 60-minute interview, they did a good job talking about, a lot of the security measures are failing because of the lack of funding available to put these measures in place. They even said it costs way more money to get somebody out of a system than it does to prevent them from getting into that system. I have experienced and repaired a large transmission main that blew up I-25 in Colorado. Flow control is such an important thing where if you close the wrong valve, you could put another hole in I-25 easily. And, especially with as old as the infrastructure is, water is a very powerful energy. If somebody can hack into a SCADA system and have control of that power, you could really harm a lot of people on a large scale, and that's scary. You can even go one step further and you could isolate everything, and then you have a bunch of back siphonage, at which point you have to shut down the system.
The City of Spokane urging people not to drink the tap water in one northeast Spokane neighborhood.
A commercial hydro seed vehicle used a fire hydrant in that area, and some contamination could have gotten into the system.
They got all these hits for contamination and had to isolate the water system, which meant there was a large amount of the population that didn't have any water at that time until they can clear up this issue. And some of the articles that I had read on this, 2 weeks after that contamination, they still had no idea who did this. It's pretty easy to contaminate a water system on accident. But I mean, if somebody had malicious intent, it's just as easy to do it on a greater scale if they really wanted to. In 2001, U.S. officials found plots on water systems in Osama bin Laden's compound. That was something he wanted to target, was U.S. water systems, and there's a means and there's an ability to do so, and it's a scary thought to think about. I think we must add some sort of security or protection to every single fire hydrant in the country. We need to protect one of the most essential things that honestly humans cannot live without. If we don't do that, I think we're doing a severe injustice and putting our country at risk. Through WASDA, we have an opportunity to be heard. I think having a voice and being heard and to put this massive risk and oversight as an immediate priority, I think that's a benefit and a value through WASDA. Making this a priority before something catastrophic happens is definitely the passion behind this. We have the ability to join one another through vendor, through distributor, through everybody inside WASDA, alongside other people who are passionate about this industry and advocate for the systematic change. And hopefully with that we can do that with government support.